Welcome back to One Stop Law. Now in this video we will try to look into the role played by United Nations organization, the world peacekeeping body or international institution so far in this Russian-Ukraine conflict. Now I have done an extensive video on the impact of the veto power on United Nations and how it has kind of crippled United Nations and made it a powerless body. So if you want to listen to that, I have provided the link of that video in the description box. You can check that out. But in this video, we will try to look into the various steps taken by United Nations and its various organs, so far to address this Russia-Ukraine conflict. Now we know the war is already going on. The conflict is already going on for the last 22 days. So it can be said that whatever attempts any organization, including UNO, has tried to take in this regard has all gone in vain because the aggression has not stopped. So let us quickly look into some of the measures or attempted measures by UNO in this Russian act of aggression against Ukraine so far. Now, the very first step taken in this regard was by the United Nations Security Council. We know that the most important organ of United Nations is its Security Council, which consists of 15 members, 5 permanent and 10 non-permanent members. And this is the organ of United Nations which is entrusted with the most important job of maintaining the worldwide peace, international peace and security is in the hands of the Security Council. And the war, the action, which the Russian president termed as a special military operation in Ukraine, started on 24th of February 2022, and on 26th of February 2022 only the United Nations Security Council had brought a resolution to condemn Russia's act of aggression in Ukraine. But as expected, Russia used the power of its single negative vote and had vetoed this resolution that would have demanded that Moscow to immediately stop its attack on Ukraine and withdraw its troops, a move several Security Council members, said was deplorable, and it was inevitable that Russia would be vetoing it, and exactly it did so. 11 out of 15 Security Council's members voted in favor of the resolution, while India, China, and United Arab abstained from voting. So the resolution failed. Again, on 18th March 2022, that is today itself, the United Nations Security Council is again due to vote on a Russian drafted call for aid, access, and civilian protection in Ukraine. But almost all the diplomats say that this measure too is set to fail because first of all it's a Russian drafted resolution, so you can understand that it will not push for an end to the fighting or to withdraw Russian troops. Neither does it address accountability of Russia or acknowledge Russia's invasion on its neighbor state. So this resolution is bound to fail too. Now, the second step taken by United Nations in this Russian-Ukraine conflict was by the General Assembly. Now, one thing to be pointed out here in this video is that United Nations is not, sitting idle, at least in this case of aggression, where it is now a superpower like Russia, which has invaded its neighbor. So, constantly there is international pressure being put on Russia to withdraw its troops and immediately put an end to this aggression and war. So this is even if the results are not so positive, but this is a step to be appreciated, that United Nations is constantly trying its best to create as much as diplomatic pressure apart from the sanctions imposed by most of the countries on Russia. United Nations is trying on its part its best to put all kind of diplomatic pressure on Russia to pull back its forces. Every day, Russia and its steps are being criticized. So, just after the Security Council resolution failed, then again on 2nd March 2022, the United Nations General Assembly adopted a resolution demanding Russia to immediately end its military operations in Ukraine. It was sponsored by more than 90 countries of the world, and it needed a two-third majority in the Assembly to pass, where out of 193 United Nations General Assembly member states, a total of 141 countries voted in favor of the resolution, which reaffirms Ukrainian sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity, and at the same time, condemns Russia's act of aggression. However, 5 countries, Belarus, North Korea, Eritrea, Russia, and Syria, voted against it, while 35 countries abstained from voting, which included our India as well. Now, in my previous lecture, I have discussed in detail why India is kind of abstaining from taking a direct stance in this Russia-Ukraine war against Russia specifically. So I have discussed that, but because India has a lot of stake involved in Russia, and in the past Russia has always stood for India, so that is the reason why India is apprehensive in taking a direct step against Russia in this United Nations forum. Finally, coming to the role of the judicial body of United Nations, which is the International Court of Justice, which yesterday only on 17th March 2022 asked Russia to immediately halt all its military operations in Ukraine, saying that it was profoundly concerned by the Kremlin. The presiding judge, John Donegal, told the International Court of Justice that the Russian Federation shall immediately suspend all military operations that it commenced on 24th February on the territory of Ukraine. Now, in this forum, International Court of Justice, India did take a very strong stance, and it joined the majority vote in the 13:2 decision against Russia at ICJ. The two judges to vote against this decision of ICJ were again expectedly from Russia and from China. So now if we just try to sum up India's stance on Russia's act of aggression in Ukraine so far, we see that surprisingly India's judge has voted against Russia directly in the International Court of Justice, because earlier to these, on the two occasions, we have seen India abstaining from voting and taking a very diplomatic and neutral stand on this Ukraine-Russian conflict at the United Nations. Once it abstained from voting in the Security Council on 26th of February 2022, the resolution which was brought to condemn Russia's action against Ukraine, and another resolution which was adopted in General Assembly on 2nd March 2022. There also India abstained from voting. But this time, yesterday at International Court of Justice, our Indian Justice Dalveer Bhandari did vote for the resolution against Russia, and which was completely contrary to the neutral stance maintained so far by New Delhi in this Russia-Ukraine conflict. Although verbally India has condemned Russia's action, stating that it does not favor any kind of act of aggression, and that only diplomacy and talks can solve any situation, and war is not a solution, international peace is a priority. But somehow somewhere it was apprehensive in taking a direct step or direct call against Russia, which has now been done by our Indian Justice Dalveer Bhandari at ICJ, which is quite appreciable and applaudable. So on this note, I conclude this video. This was just a short update on India's role on Russia's act of aggression at United Nations so far. The next video will be quite interesting, because we will try to look into the various sanctions imposed on Russia, the superpower country so far, by the world at large, condemning this act of aggression. So see you in the next video. Thank you all of you.